The longest government shutdown in American history continues. So do the costs borne by TSA agents who went a month and a half without pay. Some faced eviction from their homes, repossession of their cars, and even having to donate blood for money. This is all because Democrats are demanding major reforms to immigration and customs enforcement, a condition for reopening the government. The question we want to dig into tonight is it all worth it? Does the standoff, Rick, over ICE reform justify the kinds of hardships that are being borne by TSA agents?
First, a little pushback here. I don't agree that this is primarily the fault of Democrats. It's true that Democrats have refused to fully fund the Department of Homeland Security. They've been trying to use the power of the purse to bring about some changes that they and many Americans think need to be put into place, and so they bear some responsibility. But let's look at what the Republicans, their role here. Trump has said that he is now going to be paying TSA officials. He's had this money all along, so he could have avoided this problem from the start. Second, the Democrats have offered a number of compromises that the Republicans have rejected, one of which looked like it was going to come through, and there was bipartisan support in the Senate, but the House rejected it, and that would have funded the DHS without money going for ICE. And this would have no impact on ICE because last year Congress put in a slush fund, if you will, of about $80 billion that ICE can use through 2029. So they haven't even been affected by this shutdown at all. And finally, there have been two bills, the Aviation Funding Solvency Act and the Keep America Flying Act, which would have paid TSA officials during these shutdowns, but the Republican-controlled Congress has let those stall. So I think Democrats share some blame, but I would say the Republicans are probably more to blame for this current shutdown.
Yeah, but Chad, do you agree with Rick? Because Republicans are ready to move forward. So is this, in fact, a Democratic shutdown or not?
I don't think that the finger pointing actually is constructive or at all. I mean, I think what's a little bit more instructive is to think about why the Trump era shutdowns have been different from the earlier ones. And it's because elected policy makers, they worry more about their hardcore base than appealing to the centrist voter. That's a problem with gerrymandering, which it helps explain why the House has been unwilling to compromise in the ways that the Senate has. That's a problem that's not going away. The solutions to it, I think, there's this Harvard Kennedy School professor, Linda Bilmes, I think. She argues that one way to prevent shutdowns would be to give budget committees more power, because right now they're filled with junior members, they have term limits, they don't have the power to enforce anything. But those are like political science questions, and I'm so far out of my depth there. It's just like, oh, I think that's an interesting way to think about, like, how do we move forward from this terrible equilibrium we're in, where it's left and right, is your fault, is your fault? Like, come on.
Okay, so what is the answer?
So yeah, I mean, coming down to the political science alley here, I mean, it is right that as we have seen more polarization in US society, the idea of the median voter has kind of slowly kind of evaporating. We'll have like very consolidated base that are polarized. Now, you know, when we teach American presidency, and we all know that, you know, we talk about the POTUS as a persuader, the great negotiator, right? And that is one of the, Reagan being one of those people, that he had a lot of, you know, differences with the Congress, but he somehow were able to, Lyndon Johnson being one of those, right? So here I'm seeing that, you know, Trump has this position and he is going to entrench his position in there, double down on this. And what that creates is basically draws those trench lines from which you cannot extricate yourself. Now, look, why are we here? 2 US citizens were killed, and the administration immediately started saying, without any, you know, evidence, they are domestic terrorists, they are this, that, and the other. That angered a lot of Republicans and Democrats, I'll tell you, not just, you know, just decent Americans seeing that. They were not happy. So, you know, why should you have masks? Why can't you show your name? Why shouldn't there be a judicial warrant in order to arrest you, right? These are very basic constitutional democratical rights. And yes, finger pointing won't help, but at the same time, these are not really big demands. And Trump, if and his party, if they wish to, they can open this government.
They can just
they're willing
give
to
in.
pay for FEMA, willing to pay for ICE.
And do what Democrats want.
And think about that, okay, ICE has to be kind of controlled in a certain way.
But is it simply about ICE and the reforms that you mentioned? Because some Democrat leaders have complained that shutdowns are used too often as leverage to force policy concessions. What are your thoughts about that?
Actually, I agree with that idea, but I agree with it in the sense that when we initially started having shutdowns, part of the idea was this was such, the notion that elected representatives would shut down the government was such a big thing that it gave a certain amount of leverage. Well, this has now been used numerous times, and as with anything else, the more you survive it, the less you worry about it. And as horrible as it sounds, when did we really begin to hear more and more about the fact that the TSA was working without pay and Coast Guard and others were working without pay? When people started traveling and they had to wait for a long time in TSA lines. And that, quite frankly, is part of what certainly the Republicans depended on, is that most Americans themselves weren't going to feel that pinch. And that's part of the reason it has become less effective. The problem is, and as I sit here, I sort of like the idea that Chad suggested, what is the alternative for the Democrats? Because they're asking for some real reasonable reforms.
Yeah.
They don't have the votes to get it the normal way, so what is their option?
Yeah,
Republicans have very cleverly kind of pulled back on the
Yes.
ICE enforcement right now. So the Democrats are complaining about something that's not happening at the moment, whereas long lines were.
But giving more control to budget committees, come on, Congress has already given up its power over the purse to the Trump administration. So if the leaders of the Republican Party aren't going to stand up to him, how is some head of a
But there's a
committee?
history there. But these shutdowns never happened until 1996 when I was a senior in high school, and it's all an artifact that goes back to 1970s policy change to rein in Nixon's power. So it really started with Congress trying to take more control. It just had these unintended consequences that have been terrible.
You're talking about the Congressional Budget and Impoundment Control Act of 1974. But Rick, let me come back to you and ask, ultimately, isn't this something that should be, and in this case, has been resolved at the polls? I mean, voters voted for Republicans. Why are Democrats obstructing?
Because I think they believe that the majority of Americans think that ICE is overstepping. Arnaban mentioned a number of things that are very common sense. And so without the ability to compromise, the only way are these really nuclear, options, which is, shutting down the government. But by the way, government shutdown, a misnomer here. This is a very partial shutdown of a part of a department, because much of DHS is still being funded, as I said, because of the 2025 legislation that has an $80 billion slush fund for that department to continue to function, except for TSA and a couple of other.
TSA, FEMA, and also cybersecurity. So, Anirban, is this really the right time to have even a partial government shutdown, especially for TSA agents who keep the airways safe, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I'm hearing all these reports about TSA agents, not being able to drive to work, and they're missing paychecks, and these are not rich people here, and it's a very difficult job. And yes, of course, the Democrats should message in a certain way to that we have nothing against the TSA. What we have is, against the idea that you are being so headstrong in not compromising at all. And to come into your question, yes, Republicans in some way own the Congress, but at the same time, a lot of people have voted for Democrats too, and they want to see Democrats do something in order to protect Americans from being just nabbed from the streets and so on and so forth.
Something that actually gets what Democrat voters want, right?